What's going on, guys? Welcome to this week's episode of Ask Mish. I know I'm dropping this episode a day late. I apologize. I hope you forgive me. I know it's going to be worth the wait. I'm dropping it a day late for like one and a half reasons. The half a reason is that I'm a little bit sick and I just haven't been, my brain hasn't been operating correctly. Uh, like what they say, like when guys are sick, they're like guys are babies when they're sick. Like I'm a literal guy when I'm sick. Like I can't handle it. So like I have a cold, like I'm fine, but I might as well, be dying of like an Oregon Trail disease. Like that's how I'm perceiving it. So I apologize for that reason. That's why I also sound a little disgusting. The second reason though is I knew as this week was unfolding what I wanted to do this episode on, but I had to process it first because it was something that was like kind of happening to me IRL. So instead of answering one of your questions this week, I want to ask you guys a question about me. I want to ask you guys, do you think that I come off as a bitch? I work with a lot of people who are very emotionally intelligent. And when I point things out to them sometimes, they're like, but like I know this stuff, but like I know this. Even like with nutrition, like I know this stuff. Like, why am I not doing it? And what I tell them, I always say, when it's you, you don't always have the perspective. But people who have a little bit of distance sometimes have the perspective to see things in you that you can't see yourself. And I was lucky enough this week to have a moment like that. And upon reflection, I realized this was not my first moment that this was brought to my attention. It was the first moment I was seeing it though. And what I realized is your answer to that question, am I a bitch or not, will be different depending on how you know me. But there's a deep rooted reason, if your answer is yes, why that is. So I'm going to get a little bit vulnerable with you guys this episode and just kind of put everything out on the table. Like I don't have any notes for this episode. I'm just kind of like freeballing it. So we'll see how it turns out. Let's dive in. I'm just going to put it all out there and let's see where this goes. What I realized this week is the answer that you have will probably depend on how you know me. So if you know me one on one, like you're one of my clients, or you know me personally, you're one of my friends, the answer is likely no. At least I hope it's no. It's no, probably, likely, hopefully. But if you know me in a group, the answer is probably, or if maybe you wouldn't use the word bitch, maybe you'd use the word unapproachable. And if you know me online, same thing, perhaps like unapproachable. This theme has come up a lot for me this year. And I've noticed like I have a habit of like listening to the universe, but then sometimes I don't. But then the universe will get louder and louder and louder until I really hear it. And this has just been like a weird, constant like theme that's been coming up for like a long time. And I didn't get it until this week. So bear with me on this story here. So, as a female in business, right, I have been called a bitch many times in my life. But never before I became quote unquote successful. Like when I was younger, I don't ever remember anyone referring to me as a bitch, but except my mom, but we clashed, but that's besides the point. But as I started getting like successful in business, I would get wind here and there of people who didn't really know me, but whatever, like they would refer to me as a bitch. And I never really took it to heart. I never really thought much about it. I used to think, well, if I was a man, I wouldn't be called such things. Like I'm just assertive. I'm just an assertive woman, and if I was a man, this would not be a problem for me. And I just sort of like chalked it up to that, right? But the first time I like heard it, like really heard it was years ago. And it was when my current boyfriend, when Nick and I first started dating and we first started getting to know each other, he made some kind of comment to me, very surprised as we were getting to know each other. He's like, you like have a soft side to you. And I remember being very caught off guard by that statement. I was like, bitch, I'm a Cancer. Like I'm a July baby. Like what do you mean I have a soft side to me? Like I am a soft side. I like we could be if unkept we could be the biggest people pleasers. Really, like what do you mean you didn't know I had a soft side? Like how are you perceiving me? He's like, to be honest, he's like, when I first met you, I thought you were a total bitch. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. And then he described the first time he met me. He's like, we were in a boardroom. He's like, the meeting had already started. He's like, you walk in 15, 20 minutes late with a fresh iced coffee, ice still in it. So you like stopped on your way to get it and you're wearing, your fucking tight jeans and your tight white shirt and you didn't give a fuck and like you came off like a bitch. And I remember when he first told me that story, I rolled my eyes and I was like, well, it got your attention, didn't it? And like just kind of like brushed it off, but I never really thought too much about it. And then at another networking event, this guy who I kind of knew on the outskirts or whatever came up to me after having a conversation with me the next. He's like, when I first met you, I really thought you were a bitch, and I was like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, you just very unapproachable. But he's like, that's so not who you are. It's so crazy. Like you read so differently. And in my mind, I was like, see, like this is what happens is for women. We have to struggle so much. We have to like break down these barriers and like see, everyone just assumes that you're a bit. And I'm like blaming it on everybody else, right? Okay, cool. Then one of my clients, who is one of my first Mish Mindset clients, who I love to death, said to me, and I posted about this on my Instagram story after she said it to me because it caught me so off guard at the time. She's like, I almost didn't work with you because, and we didn't know each other at first. She's like, I almost didn't DM you, and I almost didn't work with you because I saw you online, and I was like, how is this girl like who's like so confident with like her hair and her nail and like this and that, like she's not going to be able to help me. And she's like, and I'm so glad you did, but like I forgot the word she used. I don't know if she's intimidated, but like I didn't think that you were gonna be able to like help me just by like how you presented online. Like you just like come off like you have like your shit together and like you come off like unapproachable. Like I think that might have been the word that she used. And I was very surprised by that. I actually posted about it on my Instagram story that day that I was like, wow, this was like and again, I'm chalking it up to like how I look. I'm like, oh, it's because I whatever. It's because I look a certain way. It's because I'm a moderate level of success. Like whatever. I'm chalking it up to other things. I'm not taking any responsibility for this at all. Like blindness to it. Cool. So then this week, I'm talking to somebody who I respect very much, and I was expressing to him that we're in a business group together, and I was expressing to him that I was just like unhappy with the level of like impact I was having. And he is very candidly just turned to me and was like, well, he's like, do you really think that you're that approachable? And I was like, yes. It's like the amount of like, if you know me one on one, I am the most empathetic person. I have had to refine my empathy over the years, and I was just really taken aback by him saying I was unapproachable. Like I don't perceive myself as unapproachable at all. And he was like, yeah, it's like it's the way you carry yourself. He's like, you walk in late, which I do. I'm working on that piece of it. He's like, but it just comes off like you don't give a fuck. He's like, with your outfit and your hair and your bag and your this and your that, like you just like come off like you don't give a fuck. Like it's unapproachable. And then I started with it. I was like, oh, so I can't care about fashion. Like I can't care how I dress. Like this is what I get for like being like a moderately attractive person. He's like, no, he's like, it has nothing to do with how you physically look. It's the attitude behind it. It's how you carry yourself. And I like hung up that conversation like kind of annoyed, to be honest. And then I thought about it for a second and I called Nick and I was like, am I a bitch? And he's just like, no, but you can be perceived as one. And I was like, what do you mean? And then he reminded me of that story. And he's like, one on one with people, he's like, you're incredible. He's like, if anybody like goes from knowing you, but anybody who might know you in a large group might find you unapproachable. Like you almost like have this like suit of armor on. He's like, when you get dressed in the morning, he's like, and you put this like suit of armor on, he's like, that's what, like how do you think you make people feel? He's like, it's kind of like standoffish. And I was like, oh, so I'm like not supposed to care about fashion. Like I like fashion. I like how I dress. He's like, no. It's like more than that. He's like, it's the ad. It's like, it almost feels like you have to prove something to someone. He's like, where does that come from? And Nick and I are very good at therapying each other, which I'm very grateful for because I'm very, I can do it all for other people, but, and I tell my clients this all the time, like when it's you, you don't have the perspective. So this is something that I might have said to my clients a million times, but when it's you, you don't always have the perspective. You have blind spots. So he's like, how do you think that? I was like, but I like looking good. Like that's important to me. He's like, it's beyond like looking good. He's like, it's like produced. You're trying to prove something to someone, and like why? Like what do you do that for? And I was like, I don't know. So I like thought about it for a little while, and then he goes to me. He's like, pull up your Instagram story. And I was like, okay. He's like, go back like in your archives of your Instagram story, and like we looked at it together. And he's like, and like look, I'm cheeky, right? So like I have some thirst traps in there. I have like client testimonial of like clients saying like how much of a positive experience they've had with me, and all of this stuff. And he was like, well, why did you post that? Why did you post that? Why did you post that? And I was like, because I want like people need to know that I can help them, and they like need to know like that I'm good at what I do, and it's like marketing and blah blah. He said to me, you don't need to tell people how good you are. You need people to understand that you know how they feel. And then I was like, fuck, I do sort of feel the need all the time to show people and tell people like, look at me, it was the first time that I was like, whoa. And then I had like a whole like flashback in my brain. And he said to me, he said, when does that come from? And that's like the therapying part that I was talking about before. So when Nick and I say what when does that come, what is that, we were really saying like when does that come from? Because a lot of the times when you do weird things that are not in line with who you are as an adult because of something that happened to you sort of like unresolved in childhood. So I'm like thinking back, and when I was in high school, like most people, tale as old as time, right? I was like a loser, like loser. Like I hated the way I look. I was not, if you saw me in high school, I was not considered attractive. My confidence was shattered. My confidence was so shattered that I remember, now I went to, my high school is very small. I went to performing arts high school. So like I was like the loser of the, like I wasn't even like, I wasn't even accepted there. Like that's how low on the totem pole I was, which it was because of my confidence. But regardless, I remember being in health class, and the health class, again, we there was like 20 people in my class. We were a super small class because it was specialized. And I remember saying to my health teacher, who's also my dance teacher, the lesson was about confidence. I remember raising my hand and actually asking, but what if you're not confident? And I forget what her response was, but I remember doing that. Like that's how low self-esteem, low confidence I had. And then I remember like the next day I wore a skirt to school, which I never did because I hated my body and I hated my legs and never. And I remember everyone complimenting me. And I remember thinking to my ahead of time, great, everyone's just literally complimenting me because I made that stupid comment yesterday in front of everybody that I wasn't confident. Now people are just doing it to be nice and blah, blah, blah. But I noticed like when I started like dressing a certain way, I got more attention. I got more like I got something out of it. And I remember liking that feeling better than the feeling I was having before. And when I was younger, I just like my whole childhood, I just remember feeling like not good enough. And like it's like not like well, like look, I did not have a bad childhood at all, but like we just like have these experiences that shape us in adulthood. And unless we like audit ourselves as adults, like we just kind of carry it through, right? So I wasn't particularly smart. My brother was a genius. So in comparison, I was always dumb, right? My brother got a perfect score in his SAT. He's like genius level smart. So I was never considered a good student. I went to performing arts high school, which was cool, but like I was like the least talented of everyone there. So like I just constantly felt not good enough. And then I remember when I went to college, I was like, fuck this. I was like, I'm done with this. Like and I created this like whole persona. I was like, I was like a little overweight at the time. So it was like, I lost the weight, but more importantly, I really struggled with food. I like figured out the food thing. I was like, I want to teach other people how to figure out the food thing. I became a straight A student. I graduated with honors. I got the job like while I was still in college, and then I quit the job out of college, or got fired from the job out of college. I started my own company. I like got financial freedom. I like never needed to ask my parents for a dime. I like did it all. I like created this like whole persona, but it was so based on the need to like prove to everybody like how great I was because I didn't feel great growing up. And I like craved that validation from people. My adolescent self, like my little 17-year-old self, like craved that validation from people. So I created this like persona that was going to get it. So I like got hot, lost the weight, got the money, like did all the things, but it was like built on the wrong intentions. It was built on the wrong reasons. And it like got me so far in life. But what I realized is I still carry that persona now, even though I don't need it anymore. And it's preventing me from getting to that next level in life because the level of authenticity that I feel I'm not, it's not getting through to people like in large groups because I'm like showing up with this sort of like suit of armor that I don't necessarily need anymore. But and while I didn't consider myself one now at all, but growing up I was a huge people pleaser, and I got walked all over, and I just wanted people to like me so bad. So I was a huge people pleaser growing up. I also think it comes with being a water sign baby, an empath. I think like all my empaths are my like, you know, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces babies. Like we all struggle with that a little bit until we refine it. But I recognize that the people pleasing thing, I didn't like getting walked all over. I didn't like being taken advantage of. So I thought I had kicked that to the curb. And I help people who are people pleasers. And one of the ways which I help people pleasers is I tell them, because when you're a people pleaser, like you want other people to like you. So I kind of shift people's mentality around that, because what people pleasing really is, it's manipulating the way that people see you in order to make them like you more. Now, in traditional people pleasing, it's you like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do whatever you want. Like, yeah, sure, no, oh yeah, I'll pick your kid up from the bus. Oh yeah, it's like you tell people like, oh yeah, we could do whatever you want. Like, it's putting everyone else's needs before yourself. But what I tell people, and this is what I truly feel, that true like people pleasing, it's manipulating people's perception of you in most cases. And what this used to be for me in the traditional case, it's in a sense where like you will just say yes that you, oh, whatever you want, and you just like backseat your own needs. But really what it is, it's a form of manipulating how people perceive you. And what I had this little realization of this week is I'm still doing it, but just in a very different way. I'm still trying to like manage the way that large groups of people see me, because I don't want people to see me vulnerable. Like, I don't necessarily want people to see me like as a loser. I don't want people to see me the way that everyone saw me when I was younger, because it hurt. And like none of this shit's conscious. I just like put all this together like yesterday. um but it's interesting because I've been hitting my head against the wall for probably years, because I'm like, why am I not getting to this next level? Like, I've got stuff like, why am I, but it's because I'm not being authentic all the time, and I'm going to try doing that. Now, in this like kind of beautiful realization that I was having, at some point during the week I started watching the Alex Cooper documentary on Hulu. And I never really listened to Call Her Daddy. I'm gonna start, but like I know who Alex Cooper is. Like I like any girl who's around my age who's accomplished, which like it like how do you not respect? How do you not look up to her? So, and I can't, any documentary about any entrepreneur female, my like I have to watch it. Have to watch it. So even though I never really watched Call Her Daddy or listened to Call Her Daddy, which I'm gonna start, I had to watch the documentary. So I started. It's two parts. So I'm watching the first episode at the gym, and I'm on the stair climber. I'm on the stair machine. You know what I'm on that machine, and I'm watching it, and I start crying at the gym. Like, like why am I like this? It was making me emotional, and I realized it was making me emotional because I'm watching this girl, and she's like living out a version of the dream that like I want so bad. I'm like how is she getting it and I can't get it? Like, is she smarter than me? Is she prettier? Like what is it? And but what was interesting was it was the first time I was like watching somebody, what she was really really good at doing, and what I need to get better with, is she's really good at telling her story, and she's really good at being vulnerable. And it's a two-parter. So I watched the first part at the gym and I started crying because I was like, oh my god, like this is what I want for myself so bad, and this girl's getting it, and like that means maybe it's possible for me. And I told Nick about it, so I go home and I watched the second part. And Nick walks in the room. I was like, can you just like sit down and watch this with me? Like, I want you to watch this documentary with me. So he sat down and he watched the second episode with me. And at the end, he started tearing up and he's like, do you see what she did there? And I was like, no. He's like, what they described, and this is what made Alex Cooper so successful, was like a pivot in her career. When she first started her career and she was podcasting, right? Call Her Daddy. Call Her Daddy was like, and it still is to an extent, but like not as much. It was like vulgar. It was like over the top. It was like the Howard Stern, like shock value content. And at some point in the documentary, and I had to watch the second episode again because I didn't catch it the first time, Nick pointed it out to me, she shifts. She's like, it felt so like so much energy, and it felt like so much work to show up a certain way and be like the most and have like the most shock value and like control the perception that people were having of me. Like, it was just so much energy to do that. And she's like, and I just didn't want to anymore. She's like, it wasn't, she was same, it was almost the same thing that I was experiencing, obviously on a much grander level, but she's like, it wasn't getting me past a certain point and it just felt like too much energy. So she's like, so I just like dropped my guard, and she's like, I just was myself, and I was vulnerable, and I cried, and I was honest with people. And she's like, and that's what propelled her to like the level of success and fandom that she has. And like, I didn't catch that the first time, but the second time I did, still didn't connect the dots that I was doing it. And then later on in the week, I'm having this conversation with my friend, and then after the conversation, like I just like stood there for an hour and processed everything, and it all kind of came together. And I realized that while not all the time and definitely not consciously, I lack authenticity in groups because I'm afraid of the way that I'm being perceived, which is crazy. But now that I'm aware of it, I'm going to stop doing that as much as possible. And I'm going to try to be a lot more authentic. And I want you guys to think, like, did you guys do this at all, like in your day-to-day life? Like, I mean, again, like I literally help people do this. I help people see this for themselves, but I couldn't see it within myself, again, because you don't always have the perspective. But I wanted to offer this story to you guys. One, as a declaration to you to try to be, or to be more authentic and more myself and less like produced and whatever else, because like I don't need that anymore. But also, if I was doing it in my life, and I do this for a living, I help people with these transformations, and I didn't even see it. I wanted just to share it with you. Maybe you guys could have that moment of reflection, and maybe you can see places where you're maybe like not showing up, because like everyone's enough as they are. And authenticity is so beautiful. Like if you look at the people who are that we're so attracted to online, it's not the people that are the hottest, it's not the people that have the best bodies, although they're like they're nice to look, but that only gets you so far. It's the people that are so comfortable in their own skin. It's people that are so like authentic. It's the people who are just like they're just so themselves, and that's just so beautiful. And like that's what confidence really is, which you guys have heard me say this before, but not quite in the context of this. And if you're just I've never met somebody who was authentically themselves who wasn't insanely attractive. So if there's any place in your life that you are not quite feeling that way, try to be better with yourself, try to be kinder to yourself, try to be nicer to yourself, try to heal that part of yourself. And you're going to find that you'll get received very well. I'll let you know how it goes for me, but I have a feeling that will be your experience too. So make sure you're following me on Instagram at Mischief Nutrish Mish. Tell me what you thought about this episode. And as always, if you found it helpful, share it with somebody who might need to hear it. All right, I will check you guys out next Thursday. Have a great week. I will see you then.